What's thou like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Now, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's going on? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review of Flesh of the Void. Written and directed by James Quinn, Flesh of the Void stars Man Without a Face, Kim Sura, Dead Flesh, Electric King, Skin Boy, Ink God, Bone Hands, and them. Flesh of the Void is a terribly disturbing experimental horror film about what it could feel like if death truly was the most horrible thing one could ever experience. It is intended as a trip through the deepest fears of human beings, exploring its subjects in a highly grotesque, violent, and extreme manner. I'll just tell you now that's bull. Literally, that synopsis was written by the writer-director. What a load of absolute. Shall we begin? So, there are a few reasons why I chose to check out Flesh of the Void. First of all, I kind of feel like I had to, given how much fun I had with Adam Chaplin. After the absolute joy that film gave me, I kind of felt like I had to go back to the more upsetting stuff. With Flesh of the Void, aesthetically, I'm getting a very begotten crossed with subconscious cruelty, fresh out of college art film vibe, which is absolutely perfect for my channel. That being said, everything that I've read about this film has been overwhelmingly negative, so sure, it belongs here. I've been putting this off for so long, longer than Slaughtered Vomit Dolls, which says a lot. Let's just do this. The film begins with the definition of dying, which is always a good sign. It reads, dying, to pass from the physical life. We then hear the whispers of an unseen being, seemingly describing their last moments of life before cutting to the title card.
As my soul fades away, and I'm finally dead.
We then begin the prologue entitled Silence. A quote reads, Mother, I have sinned, for I have betrayed life by dying. Cut to a couple images of religious iconography and then to another quote, All is gone, all is grey. We then see a factory pumping pollution into the sky, perhaps representing the birth of the Industrial Revolution and the death of religion that it was responsible for. We then see birds, a dilapidated building and train tracks before cutting to another quote, Run, disappear, as the trees stop singing, as the sky turn grey. We then see images of a barren landscape before cutting to close-ups of trees. Close your windows. It has begun. We see images of a cabin in the woods, closing in on the windows before cutting inside and fading to black. Act 1. War. Hold on. Act 1. So basically the prologue's meaning is the death of God? Okay, I'm on board. We once again hear the whispers of the dying being who speaks of being able to see with their eyes closed and some unknown thing being in the room with them. Not known if it is something else or possibly themselves. Cut to a mask lying on the floor and then to a child with a up face. The child begs his daddy not to hurt him, pleading that he doesn't want to die as blood pours from his mouth. We then see an altogether more human face in the shadows. The child begs for its mum as we see barred windows. The child screams, please don't, over and over again as we close in on the windows before seeing Y painted on the wall and a teddy bear with no eyes. We then see blood on the bear's face. Terrifying. Cut to someone coughing and shoving needles into their and pulling them out. Okay, here we go. Mutilation, the #1 go-to thing for anybody trying to make an art house horror film, apparently. Cut to a masked person in a rocking chair, then to a demon watching them? Maybe. I'm just gonna say demon. We see a door open up with someone breathing heavily as a demon's hand creeps in. Cut to a church and then to the same church as the image is inverted. Satan? Cut to someone walking into traffic and being run down, then back to the church. That shot, no joke, was actually kind of disturbing. Drink it in because it's going to be the only one for the entire movie. We then see more white-faced figures approaching us before hearing someone say that they can't find their baby as we see the image of a barred storm drain. They scream out in anguish as we cut to Act 2, Blood. Or what? Want some analysis? Angels and demons fighting over a soul? Suicide leading to damnation? Heaven and hell effectively being one and the same? knows. Act 2 begins with the face of a mannequin having lipstick applied in an inverted smile. Cut to a basement where we see a figure with something on their face. Cut to a spider crawling and then to whatever this is. Back in the basement, a figure stands with their back to us. We see a light bulb and then cut to a pushchair as the mother screams, "Why did you do this?" We look inside the pushchair to reveal the baby dead and the pushchair filled with blood. We then cut to a bloody saw with entrails on the floor. Cut to a figure with a ram skull as a face. The figure walks through the woods and then stands in front of the factories. We then cut to the figure's face smashed on the ground. We see a picture of them, then a Mother Teresa statue painted black. We see a figure in a gas mask with a bloody saw. And honestly, this is where I started to check out. There's nothing frightening or even slightly off-putting about what I'm seeing. The worst thing up until this point was the dead baby, and even that wasn't that bad. It's just clearly a plastic doll in a pool of fake blood. This movie needs to step its game up immediately if it's going to keep my attention. I'm 27 minutes in and I'm bored as Cut to two men sitting on the sofa wearing the Your Next Animal masks. They look at each other and then we cut to a man standing in the woods wearing a sack over his head and then to a dude in a suit. Suit dude grabs mask dude's throws him down, then rapes him. The victim then crawls away as suited dude finishes himself off. Lovely. I can't show you, but basically it's a guy in a suit laying on his back in the woods himself off until he If I wanted to see that, I'd accept my dad's invitations to Sunday lunch. Cut to blood spilling on the floor. We pan up to find a severed head, then cut to the killer who vomits a finger up. He does this 3 times and then we see a dead animal in a pool of blood. Cut to the vomiting guy picking up a jewelry box and opening it to reveal a severed penis. There we go. Part of me was like, maybe this one won't have a cut of but there you go. Here it is. What is it about art house horror movies that are like, we've got a cut off? I'm gonna be the first one ever to make an art house horror film that doesn't have a cut off, which the killer then eats. Well, that's new. No one's ever eaten the severed before, so okay. Kudos. Cut to the same guy a severed face and the wall bleeding. Cut to another masked individual in a wheelchair with one leg. The killer crawls over to the victim and starts kissing his stump and then performing fellatio. The victim pushes him off, but the killer continues and this goes on for a super long time. Cut to a title card that says Interlude Agony. I love how in a movie that has no narrative whatsoever, you're cheeky enough to put interlude in the middle of it, as well as even chapter title cards. Like, are we watching different films, brethren? We see a person with their back to us and then another figure in a blanket. Blanket sees a figure in black and then we cut to what looks like people burned at the stake. The black figure plays with Blanket's hair, which is lovely by the way. And then the figure in white is passed by another figure in white while she plays with something. What the is going on? Then there's a squirrel. Ow! Please don't cut the squirrel's off or something. Black figure stands by a lake and white figure walks into the woods. Then we cut between black figure waving their arms and the white figure running through the woods. White figure starts to convulse on the floor and then is joined by another white figure as we watch the burn victim writhe on the stake. A box is opened by black figure revealing something. A heart maybe? Knows. Then there's another bloke in a long coat watching this unfold with an eye carved into a tree. Act 3. Ecstasy. Cut to a cot in the woods with what looks like dead animals inside. We then see something at the foot of a tree which I thought was a little T-Rex. Do you reckon the squirrel and the T-Rex are friends? We then see another dead and rotting animal, then cut to gas mask in the woods. Cut to a priest-like figure standing in the woods. The priest then sits down in contemplation before pulling out a picture and caressing it before, you guessed it, pulling his out and having a and don't even ask what the picture is of, because I don't want to get my channel deleted. It's not great. Cut to someone bandaged up and then the suit dude drinking tea. Then to someone with a sheet over their head holding an umbrella. Bandages then licks a light bulb. This, at this point, feels like a parody, right? I can't be the only one thinking that this is just a state. Surely. Cut to a nun with a wooden crucifix, interestingly now in colour. She masturbates with the crucifix before wiping her bloody hand on the wall, and then she slams the bloody crucifix down and we cut to black. Cut to a masked woman walking through a Rob Zombie music video set with a scythe. We see this twice in case you didn't catch it the first time and then twice more. Suddenly the figure turns their head and looks directly at us. Congratulations to the filmmakers for that one shot. You managed to somehow elicit an emotional response from me. The figure then licks the crucifix. Cut back to the brother wearing a fox mask. He enters a building to find Gas Mask, who offers him a seat. Gas Mask then binds Fox's hands and feet before pulling his head back, placing a sack over it and securing said sack with more tape. He then stabs him to death with a super duper real convincing knife and not a plastic knife with a retractable blade. Gas Mask then drags the corpse into a room and shuts the door. Epilogue. We see the same landscape and woods in what I would call the most beautifully captured images of the entire film. Cut to some cocaine editing and then someone on a bench. The end. What a load of Okay, so my niche here is reviewing films that most would deem unwatchable, especially movies that would leave a lot more to interpretation than others. Films that would fall into the art house category and leave it up to the viewer to acquire some sort of cinematic value. Films that are designed to make you do the work. Well, I was under the impression that Flesh of the Void would be another one of those. Honestly though, if I didn't know any better, I'd say Flesh of the Void was a parody of those type of films. If I wanted to make a movie taking the piss out of art house horror, this would be the film that I'd make. It's like a feature-length version of the art house clips that were featured in the zombie episode of Spaced. I know that I'm capable of getting meaning out of films that necessarily on the surface don't have any, but this movie is quite literally a bunch of images strung together with no rhyme or reason. Of course it all means something to writer-director James Quinn, but this is a piece of art that is so closed off from the viewer that it leaves nothing to be gained from it as an audience member. There is nothing to think about or even be revolted by. When I saw the religious iconography leading into the factory shots, I thought, yes, this is going to be interesting. But then an hour or so later, I was left with nothing. All this is a bunch of people and really unconvincing gore. Great. I genuinely have never seen something so try-hard in my entire life. Sorry, James, but no. It's almost like he watched Begotten once and was like, yeah, I'm gonna go hard. I respect the company and cast for being able to get it together and make something, which is something that I haven't done. But that's all I can say. I was just so bored. So bored. I don't know if I'm numb to this type of filmmaking by now, but Flesh of the Void looks like a filmmaker's first day out, ticking off all the boxes of what they think will shock the audience. I really wanted to be affected by this movie, but I just found it to be a puerile piece of wannabe art. It just looks like a Rob Zombie music video. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. You have a great get out clause of saying that I just don't get it. My one positive? I like the score. I enjoyed that for the most part. I mean, I think that's the only thing that kept me engaged. I hate being so harsh after seeing how amazing this subgenre can be, but this was a miss. 100%. I'm sorry, but I really didn't enjoy this movie. And for all the wrong reasons. So that was my review of Flesh of the Void. Have you seen it? If you have, let me know in the comments below what you thought. Yeah. But anyway. As always, like, share, subscribe. My name is Jonjo Lyons. Stay frosty.